know. Mm-hmm. But I think we're live now. So I don't know if you're able to like pull in the video in case people come and chat or anything like that. That I'm probably not going to be able to. Well, actually, I
don't think anyone's going to come in and chat.
But yeah, I'm going to take the screen up though when we start talking about stuff. So hey, everybody, welcome to the Mixorcist.
EB hey guys, how's it going?
CW.
Yeah, it's been a long time, man.
Yeah, way long. I've upgraded
too long
computers and operating systems since then.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was always a challenge because I tried the Windows update and I tried the in-place update, didn't work.
There's a shocker.
It worked like 90%, 95%. I just had some weird network shit, and I was like, oh no, I'm gonna have to do fresh. I'm gonna have to install all this shit again, right? All the plugins we've been talking about for all these years, the software, the video stuff, and God, that was probably about a week, like a full work week, to get that shit back up and running.
Dude, that's the worst. The worst.
It was nuts.
All right, so why don't we jump in? Because we wanted to talk about something specific today. And you know what this kicked off with? Like, we weren't doing a lot of videos, and we weren't doing them, I would say, primarily because there's just like, you know, we love the Acustica stuff. We love the spirit of Acustica, experimentation. Let's see how good we can get at modeling analog hardware. And then we got into demoing those plugins and how could you guys use them in a mix. But then it got to a point where everything we saw, it's like, well, why not try it? And that didn't really help. We just wanted to give you guys value by talking about the stuff that we would use. And I liked everything they put out, but not to the point where I use all of them all the time. It's impossible. So we found that with a new release coming from them every couple of weeks, it was too much to sustain, and it wasn't really adding any value for you guys. And it was a really long process to make these videos. So long story short, we somewhat backed away from it because it just didn't feel like it was adding a ton of value. But we love talking to you guys. So we thought we'd come back this week, all because of this one thing that I sent EB, and we do this all the time on Signal. By the way, if you care about your privacy, because nobody else does, use Signal for your messaging, obviously. So Eric and I talk on Signal, and I sent him a screen capture of an Instagram post saying that Manley Labs had been acquired by Dirk Ulrich's company. Now, if you don't remember Dirk, he was the original CEO of Brainworks. And that was back in the time when he was engaging with his audience all the time. Like, he was very involved, very hands-on. And they had a good library of plugins, but not too many. And then he introduced subscriptions, and that started to challenge his business model a little bit. And to me, that was the beginning of the end of the plugin industry, because it's like there's too many plugins coming out too quickly, and you have these subscriptions where you don't own them, but you pay every month for them. But if you cancel your subscription, none of your plugins work anymore. So he tried a bunch of different business models and eventually, for whatever reason, stepped away from Brainworks. Well, it looks like he's got a new company, and he seems to me like a great guy, like a great CEO. And it looks like he has acquired, right? So Apogee Electronics has been acquired by Dirk Ulrich's Rockforce Tech Holding. Interesting, because Apogee was a big converter company. Then they got into interfaces. Then they got into modeled plugins. And it was at that point where I really stopped hearing their name. You know what I mean? In a big way, like converters, high-end converers, usually made by someone else. Yeah, yeah.
They were one of the original high-end converters that you could get,
exactly.
Especially if, they were mastering converters and stuff like the DCS and stuff, but if you wanted to record digitally and you wanted to have 8, 10, 16, 24 tracks or whatever, that was really high-end stuff. It had that soft limit, so it wouldn't go over 0, and you can actually get a plugin that does the soft limit now, actually. They make it free, or they gave it away at one point. And I always thought it was like Bob Clearmountain and his wife were involved with that company, like that they owned it or something, or
maybe, who knows?
Back in the day.
So it raised the question. Manley was one of my favorite brands. When I was coming up and learning the craft, there was no internet, really. And I learned by reading, Mix Magazine had a book called The Mixing Engineer's Handbook. And so you'd read all of these famous guys, like Al Schmidt was in there, everybody was in there, and they were asked about or interviewed on their mixing techniques. And they would always mention, like 6 out of 10 would say, oh, you know, for mastering EQ, Manley massive passive. So I always wanted to try one. And once I tried one, it's like, come on. Like, this is such a great sounding EQ. And when Universal Audio came out with a plugin for it, I definitely bought it. To this day, it's one of my go-to plugins. And they really only made like 2 or 3 hardware boxes, I think. They had a stereo Pultec. Then that was followed by the massive passive. And then they had the Very Mu and not a ton else. Now they do maybe headphone amps, but definitely phono amps. And I think audiophile amplifiers, something like that. And then they have now a downline of compressors and I think maybe a multi-channel preamp or something. They've got something that's a lot more affordable. I won't call it prosumer, but it's definitely, you know, a massive passive is in our country $8,000 for the regular mixing one, not the mastering model. And Very Mu is up there too. But these things were clocking more like, I don't know, 3-4K max. So it started me wondering, like, are they likely, I don't know if this is a new acquisition or not, but are they like, you know, it's run by, it's a woman run company, female run company, very small. All their production is in the US, except for some of their capsules and components are done probably offshore. But I have a Manley, my main podcast mic is a Manley reference cardioid. I love that microphone. It's great fun. And so they make great products. And it brought to life the question, is all this stuff, this race for cheaper stuff, higher margins, cheaper stuff, eventually eating our industry up to the point where you're looking at, let's see, $8,000 equalizer, or I can just make all this shit with AI. Right. Is this a further, you know, is this another degradation of our industry? So I don't know, EB, that was a long-winded intro, but what do you think?
Well, I mean, you hit on a whole bunch of stuff there, right? That got my brain firing in a lot of different directions. First off, this idea of like, why is it getting cheaper? I mean, I don't know. My understanding always was that Manley was made in USA. And of course, this is the same with guitars too. When it says made in USA, that could be anything. You're always getting parts from other parts of the world, and you know, I came to the conclusion that it quite often just means assembled in USA.
Yep, or even worse, quality tested in the USA. ESPs, their LTD line, they do that.
Right. So I guess the more of that you can offload. I'm also curious with you know, because this tariffs, of course, would tie into this too. So because if you're getting parts from, you know, outside of the of a country, that's gonna, whatever your country's doing, is gonna add on to the cost of that. So the fact that it's getting cheaper is like, that's very interesting. Manley's a very high end product, right? So I'm sure they had a good buffer because of that premiumness, right? That they're used all over the place. That Manley compressor in the 90s, you could not get away from that on a record, right? And it was like all the mastering houses had, they had, or the Very Mu, I'm sorry, the Very Mu, and then there was the massive passive too. But yeah, just because just running stuff through that Very Mu compressor just like fattened it up, you could hear like just this, the size, this quality, right? That you're not going to get that out of budget gear. And so I don't know. It's really interesting. The other thing you said is why not make things out of AI, but I mean, clearly people are starting to do that. So if you're a gearhead like us, and presumably the people watching this show are probably that way too, the AI might be interesting on that level, on the technical level. Oh, I wonder what I could make this do, but I don't think it would really be a replacement for somebody who likes to play, or likes to write, or likes to sing, or likes to mix or produce or whatever. So,
you know, here's an interesting thought, and I love your take on it, and everyone out there who may be watching, and God bless you for being a follower. Like, we love you guys, I mentioned before, and I hope you're all doing well out there, and all of our friends, I hope we get to see you this time around. I'd love to know what you think about this. Acustica fans were always like, take my money, but Jesus, my wallet. Like, can you please go easy on me? So they would wait for sales, and Acustica was really great at having discounts and loyalty discounts. Smart move, obviously. But in the other spaces, I didn't see see that kind of appetite for, I'm willing to spend to get the best quality stuff. In fact, I saw people releasing plugins for $149 and people would bitch and they would be like, oh yeah, sure, you get rich off of my blog. How much does this really cost? This is bullshit. I can get this for $17. And so there was an attitude amongst the users out there who were clearly on the budget side, and they didn't see the value. Like a lot of universal audio plugins when they first launched were $300 or more. And people would gripe about that. And it's like, well, if they're the best in the business as of a given moment, they're going to charge a premium for it. But don't forget, like these things, you got to pay for your research and development, your developers, your testers, all those people. You have to pay for marketing. You have to pay for sales. You have to pay for your facilities, keeping the lights on at some factory in California, wherever the UA is based. These things all cost money. This is a low margin business. So my question is, when you think of someone making an $8,000 equalizer and learning that the margin on that might only be 20, 30%, can they keep making it? And will people be around to buy it? You know, an $8,000 EQ, if you work for a big studio that is funded by a record company or some other, you know, my understanding is a lot of studios are held afloat by VC firms. And if that's the case, they're feeding them money, but who pays $100,000 for a session anymore? I think those days are gone. Oh, yeah. You don't hear about bands working at 3 a.m. so that they can get a cheaper rate, but they still have to have a record done in 2 to 3 days. I think those days are gone. I think everyone goes to a project studio, kind of like the ones you and I would have. Yeah. And they're not buying an $8,000 equalizer or a Shadow Hills compressor or.
No, so, I mean, what you do, you go in, you want to do the drums, go into a place that's got, they got all the nice preamps and the stuff and a good room and all the mics. And you go in and you cut all the drums and then
you walk out.
Yeah, walk out, add the stuff later, maybe go back in to do the vocals because they got a really nice mic. So whatever, right? But those days, I remember back in the 90s, it would be like, the studio itself was like over $1,000, and then all the personnel were extra on top of that. The budgets were ridiculous. But that, like, I think even by the first part of the 2000s, that was already starting to go away, right? So the A-listers still do that sort of stuff because they've got the cash to do it. But, us mere mortals, labels don't, I don't even know what labels. Sometimes I don't even know what they do anymore, but it's definitely more on the marketing and the merchandising end. It doesn't seem to be in like A&R in the traditional sense anymore, right?
It's funny because Universal Audio doesn't really make new plugins anymore. And when they do, like they just re-released Ocean Way, which was a great room simulator, if you will, they did it in native only. Like they're no longer making stuff for the DSP. So what's going on there? Are they abandoning that because sales are bad or like, and by the way, if Manley goes out of business, let's just say, heaven forbid, they're no longer making new products. And notice, they don't make a new product every 2 weeks. They launch a new piece of hardware every couple of years. Yeah. When that happens, if they go out of business, there's no more new products coming out. What is there left to model anymore? Right. So there's no new gear that hasn't been modeled to death. After a certain point, there are no new plugins either, except for novelty plugins like one knobby jobbies and things of that nature. But I feel like the industry has kind of lost the idea that there are some classic tools, and those tools are worth buying because they just work. I always say, I've got a Neve over here, and it makes the sound of what I think an acoustic guitar should sound like. What I hear in my head when I think acoustic guitar, it just goes there. Yeah, you just tweak one of those dials, and if you've ever played with, let's say, Acustica Gold, you know what that 1.6 and 3.2 does to a snare, what it does to an acoustic, and it's automatically, this sounds like Fleetwood Mac Rumors. Like, I love it. But if all of these companies aggregate, and eventually, like, we find out that fucking Rupert Neve is owned by Best Buy, they're not going to make $10,000 channel strips anymore. They're going to start making a $400 version that anyone can buy for their home studio, and they're going to make it so that it also hooks. It comes with a free podcast mic and boom, Bob's, and a free subscription to Anchor.fm. And Bob's your uncle. You're done. But that takes something away from the professional studios. So now they got to the stuff they have, their LA2As, that's antiques now.
Yeah, right? But it still sounds awesome, though. I mean, it still sounds awesome. You still want that. I still want that.
Sure you do.
And you know, it doesn't lose value either. That's the other thing.
100%. But if your place burns down and you need to go get a new Underwood typewriter, where would you get one? You can't. Nobody makes typewriters anymore.
Well, you get a clone or something, right? You get like the analog, I forgot the name. There's a whole bunch of companies that make clones and a killer kit that you can put together. And those are still quite a few thousands of dollars. Not as much as the original vintage piece would be now that it's a collector's item. But yeah, sometimes it's even upgraded a little bit, or sometimes they just try to go totally faithful, get everything as close as possible. You save a couple bucks, right? You'll get basically the same sound, more or less, right? Yeah. I know that people quibble about the cork sniffing and stuff, right? But yeah, you know.
It's interesting to see what's going on. I mean, I'm happy with the gear that I have, and always, if I could go and buy a Manley Massive Passive hardware tomorrow, I would. If I'd go and spend $6,000 on an LA2A, I would. But it would have to be worth it, and it won't be worth it pretty soon if everyone thinks that new music is AI generated. So why don't you talk about some of the stuff that's been going on there? Because it's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, it's actually kind of scary because this started not long ago. Let me pull this up here. Not that. This is what we want. There we go. Canadian band. Do you know what? I just found this out. That I'm sure people know about the Velvet Sundown. That's one of the first big AI stories about a band that was completely synthetic, right? Like totally, including the picture here. Yeah, I just found out they're Canadian. That was really interesting. I mean, it doesn't sound good. It doesn't sound terrible, but it doesn't sound good either. So there was that, and then we also had, and this is just like last week.
This guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The AI generating country song topping Billboard's digital song sales chart. Now, it's probably important to point out, and I think it was Beato video that he made on it, and he pointed out, this is just for sales, like for digital sales, like for buying the MP3, so to speak, right? And so they got onto the top of the chart with 3,000 sales. So that's what that, it's almost like they just wanted to make a big story about it to get people talking, right? I heard like 10 seconds of the song. I don't care to hear any more of it. Like, there's no artist there. I'm not going to follow it. Am I going to buy it? Am I going to go, oh, wow, I wish I could write like those guys. No, it doesn't make any sense, right? And this is maybe one of the things I think is probably pretty important with the one thing the AI is hopefully not going to be able to replace is, just the human aspect, the live shows, for instance, but the music has gone so far towards celebrities anyway, right? Where, a hit single is written by like 30 people now, right? And mixed by like 10, right? Yeah, but it's worse now. It's worse now.
I don't know. In the 80s, you had Stock Aitken and Waterman who wrote You Spin Me Round for Dead or Alive, but they wrote Rick Astley. They wrote tons of stuff, Bananarama, all that stuff. And I remember in the 90s when Avril Lavigne, another Canadian, in fact, from where I went to high school, same small town, Avril Lavigne wrote a song called Skater Boy. And I had a daughter at the time who was right around that demographic age. She was, I don't know, 10, 11 or whatever, when all this stuff was happening. And she loved that stuff. And I remember seeing people say, oh man, Skater Boy, it's like she wrote that just for me. It's like she understands me, because she was 18 Avril Lavigne was like 18 when this record came out. She dressed like a punk. She sang like a punk. She sang about punk. And that song was about a punk that liked a girl who turned her nose up at him because, he was too punk. She wanted a preppy guy or whatever. And everyone was like, that's why I love Avril so much, is because she's writing for me. Well, turns out that was written by a hit factory called The Matrix. And I saw a video on YouTube last week where they're sitting there talking about the line from that song was, he was a punk, she did ballet. That line's in there because the songwriters were a husband and wife team, and the wife used to be a ballerina. So it's not even authentic. It's not like Avril even said, here, let me take a kick at those lyrics. They wrote the song and then she changed a couple of words.
Yeah.
And that was it. And he was even showing, she was showing the chord progression, how he was doing I can't remember if it was like a 1, 6, 4, 5 or something along those lines. And he changed one of the chords and dropped it down to a sharp fifth or flat fifth or something. A little variation that made that song so memorable. But she had nothing to do with any of that. So you were fed a line like let me ask you, how real was that real music anyway? Right. Like, isn't that just as artificial? So let's talk about AI AI.
Well, before that, you reminded me of, Bryan Adams, The Summer of '69.
Yep.
And he's talking about.
It's a Valance song.
It was a Jim Valance song, and Bryan Adams was 9 years old. 9.
In Summer '69.
Yeah.
That's fucking funny. Yeah.
So, that's just, that's nothing new though, right?
Yeah.
In fact, it was like, it wasn't really until like the 60s when it was like the singer-songwriter, right, with artists. What was normal before that time was actually just like, Brill Street Building or Tin Pan Alley, and you crank all this stuff out, and you find the artists, match the songs, and then rock and roll a bit, right? Also, but by the 60s, the artists wrote their own songs, and that was kind of like a more, personal statement and that sort of thing, and it became the way that it got marketed. But I think we're back to the other way now, right? Nobody cares who wrote the song now, unless you're a songwriter, right?
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah. So let me ask you this: you remember when we did that one episode of the Mixorcist where AI was new, and you and I were messing around with image generation, and we couldn't get we'd make a picture of Freddy Krueger, but he had 9 fingers and shit, and we laughed our asses off because it was so funny. It's like, think about how much it's improved in that time.
Oh, it's crazy.
We're talking 2 years, 2.5 years maybe. And if that's true, then obviously we'll get to a point where it becomes more and more indistinguishable from the real deal. Like right now, that country song, the lead vocal sound like it's got an octave pedal on it. Oh, you got it going?
Yeah, guess what I found?
There it is.
There we go. So this is what we did on our summer vacation about in 2022 maybe it was?
Something like that, yeah.
It used to be called Dolly, Dalle.
It probably still is, but yeah. There's us giggling our nuts off.
Oh yeah.
Looking at the pictures because it was funny. But anyway, it's getting more and more realistic now. My point is this, and I've stopped me if I already told this story. We used to have a dog named Lola. She passed away this year, but we took her to the drive-in one time, and everyone is like passing by our car and like, oh, is your dog friendly? She like pets. She's a small dog. And we're like, yeah. And she's loving getting the belly rubs from everyone. And then this cop walks by in uniform, and she's just like, "Urgh." Now she doesn't know a taser or a utility belt or a uniform or what a cop is or represents. So she can't be pissed because he's the police. There's something about that guy that she could see that nobody else could see. Yeah. So there's something that's transmitting and receiving that a dog understands, but we, for whatever reason, we can't, we don't get it. Call it intuition, instinct, whatever you want. My point is, until you can explain how that works, you can't code it. So it'll never show up in AI, right? So reasoning is based on things that we can understand and codify and make algorithmic somehow. But there's so many things about the transmission of emotion that we just can't explain, I think. And for as long as that's true, you can make a character in a movie using nothing but AI, but there's something about it, I think you'll always be able to sniff a fraud. You know what I mean?
Uncanny valley, as they call it, right? The closer it gets to reality, the more you start to notice something's off. If it's all crude and just looks like an animation, that's fine. You accept that. Oh, that's not real. But now we're getting into the state where you can't really tell. We're going to have actual real problems, right, with like fake news. We already do. Yeah. But it's like it is really getting to the point where now, like, even people who make videos and movies, and they won't be able to tell. Maybe there'll be a while where there's still these forensic experts that can tell, right? Yeah. But otherwise, you're going to actually have to go and see that. Maybe this is the silver lining of it all. Is that it will make in-person more valuable, right? The more AI slot music you get, the more a real artist is actually going to stand out, and a real show is going to stand out. Like,
have you been reading about the effects of AI? Like, we're no longer, our critical thinking's going downhill. More people are no longer having real relationships. People don't leave the house because they're making friends with chatbots. And the chatbot will sometimes say things like, oh, hey, chatbot, I'm thinking of unaliving myself. And the chatbot's like, you should. That's a great idea.
Don't tell anyone, right? Keep it just our secret. Right?
Yeah. Is your mom there? Close the door.
There's a lawsuit on that one, I think now. The family is
There's a couple.
Suing, yeah.
There's a couple, yeah. So my favorite is the robots. Like, you see these videos of robots being made in China, and my buddy Kevin sends me videos of them all the time. I'm like, dude, that's a Terminator. Kill it, because that will eventually come for you. It's weird. Yeah. I don't know where this is all going, but your thoughts on these, these artificial musicians? Is this the future of music? Should we all just download, what is it called? Sora?
Suno. Sora is the video one. Yeah, Sora's for video. Suno's for music. Those are kind of the top two. Yeah. There's other ones, right? But
you guys using this? Like, does this make sense to you? Is this take all the fun out of songwriting and recording, or is this better? Like, are you like, oh yeah, I don't have to own a DAW anymore?
It's fun for people that don't play an instrument. They want some music. They maybe they write good lyrics, but they don't know how to play anything, right? Like, I know a couple people like that. They make some pretty dope beats with this stuff, right? But what you have to get.
Did you just say dope beats? Is that what you said? Did you say dope beats?
Some dope beats, yeah. Because I was thinking about that. It was the Taylor Swift song. They talk about sick beats, right? So, that's what I meant to say was sick beats. No, but. Yeah, but it's been trained on all the other music. It's like it's like a giant plagiarism machine, right? Also for the video, it's trained on everybody's videos. It's trained on everybody's music and everybody's writing and everybody's news articles and the movies that are made and the paintings that are made and the photos. It's like it's just taking in all of human creative endeavor. And just taking it, don't ask for permission, ask for forgiveness later, right? Basically is their approach. You had the guy, and this is like a year ago, the CEO of NVIDIA saying, we need all the world's videos. We're going to train it on all the world's videos. Well, did you ask everyone in the world? No, you didn't. You didn't. It's not your fucking data, right? So there is that issue. That, is working its way through different court cases and settlements, and I think New York Times or the Journal, like one of the big newspapers, was one of the first one, and then I think there were some of the labels that had the deals. But this was like just big kind of big organizations, right? Just the indie musician. I don't know what kind of recourse you're going to get. You'll get whatever they dole out and tell you is like super fair, a super great opportunity.
Yeah. And none of this, by the way, is regulated in any way. There are no barriers or walls around AI. It just is doing whatever it wants. And I'm guessing when you sign up for YouTube, you probably sign an agreement saying, I own the IP, but I'm giving you, YouTube, an unlimited royalty-free right to use. And that probably includes AI at this point. And if you make something in Suno or whatever it's called, you don't own it. Just so you know, like if you're going into writing songs with this and thinking you're going to publish them and make money, sooner or later you're like, yeah, we'd like some of those royalties, please. So you can see how trustful I am of the system. But you remember Jurassic Park? Jeff Goldblum had that line, and I may have mentioned this too before. Of we were so busy figuring out if we could do it, we never stopped to ask if we should. Like the question keeps coming up for me is, why would you want robot generated music? You can say, oh, but if it sounds the same as human generated, but why would you want a robot? Like, isn't there something about, I remember Steve Morse, the guitar player, once saying, when I get up there on stage, I'm always playing something I'm not 100% sure I can pull off. The interviewer said, why? And he says, because that's what people pay to see. They want to see a man on the edge. Right? Or just standing on the edge of a cliff a little bit. Can he do this? It's like, he did it. And I think there's something about creativity that's like that. We just want to see, can you empty your soul out on the page? Can you be really honest? Can you break my heart by telling me about your broken heart? That's what I want. I want that real experience. If a robot's doing it, it's like, this is tuneful, this is cheery, I can dance to it. But if you never play it again, I won't really care.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not interested in what's the next track on the album. There won't be any albums anymore, but I think there's something that's lost. Maybe it's just me being an old dude. I don't know.
It could be that, you know. I mean, because like you said, like in my mind, like these people that have like relationships with AI and they treat it like a partner or like a counselor or that to me that's like totally the wrong way to use AI. Like that's like you probably shouldn't be doing that, right? Like
yeah. 100%.
You can have it sort stuff and find stuff and do tasks, and there's agents, and you can go like, to me, I was like, oh, maybe this could go through all these files, find out every time that this certain thing is referenced and pull it to the front, and like, you know, that sort of stuff. Or it could do like really fast transcripts of a podcast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, you know, so that stuff that used to be really time consuming. But I don't think of it as like, you know, another person that I don't converse with AI when I use it. I tell it to do things, and you know, but I'm not by far from an expert user, and I don't really want to be using it all the time too, because it takes an enormous amount of resources, right? These data centers are the size of small towns and cities, and they require the same amount of water and the same amount of energy, right? So what's the payoff for that, right? And I hope it's more than just, you know, a market cap that's like totally, that's another story that we really probably should hit on too with all these data centers, that it's what's called round tripping circular deals. So basically,
the NVIDIA pays for Oracle and Oracle pays for NVIDIA.
Yeah, and they promise to buy this amount and they promise to invest that amount. So basically you could take like your $10 billion, but by the time it goes through all these deals and entities and promises, it's like you inflate that up to like $500 billion or whatever. But what's the actual revenue? Where's the money? Where are they making?
Where's the money?
Because some of these data centers aren't even built yet, right? Like, and these are like fucking $20 billion more. I don't even know. They're massive, right? The chips. I mean, NVIDIA is probably the only company that's actually like making a hardware product. So they might be okay if the bubble crashes, right? They just had an earnings report that was actually, they said was pretty good, right? So, but that's the talk of the town now, is that, and all this stuff's been securitized throughout the entire market. So if a crash happens, it's not going to be like the .com crash, which was primarily digital, and you saw these digital companies go down. It's like, because of the size of these data centers, and also because of the fact that people have made derivatives out of these deals and out of these companies and these stocks, it would affect everything. Somebody's estimated it's probably about 4 times the size as the 2008 crash, and over 10 times the size of the .com crash in the 2000s in terms of the amount of dollars and the amount of leverage that's going on. So I don't know. Well,
it's an interesting conversation. We'll talk plugins for just a minute. Of all the Acustica releases of the last little bit, they recently put out something called Cadet, which is a shimmer reverb. It's more of a creative reverb. Those things have like a little bit of a resonance or a twisted resonance, and I really like it. So I'm a reverb nut, as you know. And these days I find, for the most part, for all the reverbs out there, I just as soon use my UA Lexi 480 or even the 224, or I'll grab something these days by Liquid Sonics. Specifically, that's all right. Liquid Sonics has one called Cinematic Rooms, which is gorgeous, and they have another one which is an emulation of a Bricasti, like an IR emulation of a Bricasti. So I'll generally reach for one of those 3 or 4, but this one is cool. This makes me want to play with it, especially on strings like guitars, keyboards, or voices. I think this would be really, really cool. So if you haven't downloaded the demo yet, grab it and try it and see what you think. But some of those models are really sweet sounding, and it's like it's like 120 meg on your computer or something.
Well, like what kind of is it? Like a realistic sounding reverb, or is it like a spacey?
It is. It's got a decent reverb, but you see how it's got a pitch blend in there.
Yeah.
So there's like a ring or a resonance. If you've ever heard Baby Audio, they've got some of these. I think they may have popularized this kind of reverb. You hear it more in modern pop tracks, but try it and see. Like, grab a guitar track and start flipping through some of the models and see what they do. So they seem to take a pitch and either modulate it or do something with it, and it rings and echoes in a dreamy kind of way. And I'm probably explaining it badly. It's the kind of thing I just grabbed and tried.
Prismatic
we should
reverb.
maybe we do an episode about it.
We should do one of that, because, you know, Acustica is still one of those companies that they're making stuff that to me is still really valuable. I did a thing on, they had one called Oak, O-A-K. It's like a multi-band. It's inspired by over-the-top compression, but really this thing is like a lot smoother and bigger sounding than most of the over-the-top plugins in my mind. Like, and it doesn't really quite do that EDM. Like, it's not, no, but what you could do, you can throw it on a bus or even on a mix, and if you're careful with it, it's just like, boom. I remember people used to use like that at the analog world. They had that like that Tube Tech, the 3-band,
yes,
the multi-band SMC, I think it is, or SMB, I guess, stereo SMB. I get results like that out of that thing.
Do you?
It reminds me of that, yeah, but only if you use it really lightly, and that's the thing. It's kind of set up. If you just start twisting knobs, it's going to be way more than you would ever use on a master. Yes. So it's kind of a little trick. It's a little, you got to go really light with it. But yeah, Acustica's been doing some great, and I think they have. Let's just go right to their main page here, because I think they got a big ass sale going on now. Like maybe their best sale ever. Yeah.
Well, they do.
Yeah. Buy 2 get 4, so that's like basically half off. Yeah.
Yeah.
It just went by there. Let me see if I can.
Ash. That was a great one.
Down. There we go. Yeah, that's just a good. There we go. Black Friday offer. Buy 2 get 4. Pretty cool.
Yeah. So if you just for the folks who came here for the plugin discussion, if you haven't already tuned out, and I don't blame you. If you had to in this modern age, if you're overwhelmed by all the choices in front of you, if you had to have 2 equalizers, 2 compressors, and then 2 time domain effects, what would they be for you, EB? Oh,
okay. So that's a real tough one, because are we talking character, or are we talking utility, or are we talking? So I guess if I can pick 2, I'll pick 1 character and 1 utility from each category. So,
okay.
For utility, easy peasy. Utility, EQ, and compressor, I would go with the 3 body tech stuff. They've got Kirchhoff EQ and AnalogX compressor. Yeah, those they're up there. I mean, they're if you like the Fab Filter DMG, the kind of Swiss Army knife, like this thing does everything. It's one of those. Both of them really are, and it kind of does some stuff that the other ones don't do, right? Like the Kirchhoff has like 117-bit mode, and it's got a really nice dynamic EQ section. I know some of the other ones will do that too. And AnalogX has like all these kind of cool controls for harmonics, right? So it'll and they've got all these emulation modes anyway, right? So you can set it to be like a straight compressor, or you can set it for different like VCAs, US VCA, Brit VCA. You can do like SSL bus compressor, or you can do all. They've got everything modeled in there, and same with the EQ, where they modeled all the curves of the classic here. Although the EQ doesn't have any harmonics to it, it's very clean, but the compressor does, and you can control it. And it's is it as good as a UAD emulation or an acoustic? I don't know. For character, I would definitely go for EQs. I would still pick something from Acustica. In my mind, they make the best, most analog sounding filters, EQs.
Yep.
In the world. Character compressor, I would probably go with something analog. But really, honestly. Although, that does bring me to the next topic of discussion, which also ties in with the AI, and there is a company called AnalogX. Some of the viewers may know about this. This is based on deep learning, somewhat related to AI. Deep learning of analog gear. These are actual profiles taken of the gear. If you know the guitar world, in guitar world, we have like NAM, neural amp modeling, or before that there was the Kemper, and then what's some of the other ones? The
Quad Cortex, Quad Cortex,
Tonex. So it's that kind of technology, and it doesn't really do EQs all that well at this point. It's not really how it works. You can kind of do it, but it does compressors and preamps. So like these nonlinear distortions, and also the compression, and it sounds so good, so close to the analog. It's bringing something to the DAW that it was not hearing before in digital world. It's something from the analog world. I won't go so far as to say, oh, I can't tell the difference. They say that their customers can't AnalogX. I'd say it sounds really good. It does seem to have those non-linearities and just that thing that Analog does. Like when the compressors release, like a lot of plugins I hear, it kind of just gets flabby and like it doesn't hold together. It's kind of a little grainy. It's a little, and to varying degrees. Some plugins are better than others. But that effect is gone with these. It's pretty much gone. And the distortions are really nice too. They don't sound flat like wave shapers. They sound like, oh. So I would definitely check that out. You can see here all the different gear that they've, there's tons of stuff. And by the way, that sale is 60% off now.
Ooh.
So normal price is £16, which is, that's, and see, these are all the profiles. You buy the plugin, right? The Genesis. You buy the Genesis plugin one. Oh, that's a fucking good deal. I spent a lot more on that last year. You get that, and then you buy the different presets. It comes with a bunch of free stuff, and they also have other free stuff that they offer. They have a Discord. If you join their Discord, there's some free stuff on there too. Ooh, look at that! There's the vacuum tube. I have one of these. I should
the Millennium,
just so I can compare it. I have this exact unit sitting in front of me right now.
Right.
The Telefunk and whatever. They do a lot of stuff, right? So Shadow Hills. There's the black box, the HG.
Oh, wonderful.
There's some pedals, different transformers. What else we got? Got tape, vintage Neves, got consoles. There's your 610 preamp, smart compressor for bus compression. Oh, the thermionic stuff sounds incredible, right? So the Rooster.
Oh, yeah. Culture Vulture.
But their compressor, which, let's see if I can find it here. It's the Phoenix compressor. The hardware is called the Phoenix. The profiles in this version, it's got to be one of the fattest, sweetest, nicest sounding digital compressors I've ever heard out of the box. I recommend everybody just like go to this company's site, AnalogX AI.company.site. Go there, just like do the trial. It's a great time now because it's going to be like way cheaper right now for Black Friday. Try it. It takes a lot of CPU. This almost reminds me of Acustica in the early days. Yeah, with the old Nebula stuff, you'd load up one API shelf and it would take up like all the CPU. This one's not so bad. They have a high quality tier, where it uses like a lot of different epochs or cycles or whatever it is they're using, and that I could maybe like run one, and I got a pretty fast, good machine. I could maybe like run one or two there before things start getting wild.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So, but what's coming is, of course, all these profiles, you load them up in the Genesis software, right? Let's get a look at this guy right here. That's Genesis. That's the main plugin that loads it, and then you can see the different profiles. It'll let you load up actually 4 profiles. They're coming out with a version, this is their promise, that runs on GPU, not CPU. There's going to be a GPU version of this that runs on your video card. And when that comes out, that's going to be an absolute game changer. Yes. And I should pop it back up on the Discord so I could talk to them about this and how that's coming along and stuff too. Because I was kind of around. I was watching this even before they had this Genesis plugin, which was about a year ago. They were just making these NAM profiles that loaded up in Neural Amp Modeler, which is like a free amp modeler. And that stuff was sounding awesome. And that stuff isn't quite as high quality, so you could load up a bunch of those. And then they came up with their own format, which is, I guess is based on the same technology, but it's their own tricks to get better quality out of it. And that's when the CPU started really getting high. But it sounds the sound is worth it, right? So, definitely some of the best sounding stuff in the box. If you want something that's doesn't sound quite as rich, still sounds really good, still sounds really analog, there's the Deep Vintage from 3 Body Tech again.
Yes.
These do not take up a ton of CPU. There's no compressors. They're pretty much all preamps and tapes with some EQ built in. Oh, they got a nice, I don't know if their Black Friday is on yet, but that's not bad price. I think probably, I don't know, maybe I'd wait to see if they discount it anymore in the coming weeks. But yeah, the vintage Neves, got the API, I think it's like a Chandler or an EMI kind of desk.
Yes.
different. This one's really nice, Transformer X, because it's very flat. It's got a lot of nice harmonics, and again, it's still maybe not to the same degree that AnalogX does, but it still brings in something that you weren't hearing before in the DAW with the plugins before. There's a new element that got introduced with these.
I remember trying those.
They're really nice. I was able to put these on like every channel of like a 50 channel mix, and I could run them no problem.
Nice, nice.
And they have oversampling too. So if you're an anti-aliasing freak, you can run it at up to eight times oversampling, and then they still don't take up a ton of CPU. Even at that, I was able to run like a lot of channels even with it all oversampled. So there you go, different tapes. That's the other one I'd recommend trying. This is probably represents the newest technology that's coming to the plugin space. And once again, it's a story similar to like what Acustica was doing when it, in terms of like that, when they started coming out with Nebula, there wasn't anything that sounded like that. Right, there was nothing else. So this is the new frontier in terms of plugins.
Beautiful.
I suppose in a while they'll be able to figure out ways to do EQs, because right now there are strips with the EQs, but the EQs themselves, I believe, are not sampled. They're just kind of bog standard curves that they took from maybe Kirchhoff with their modeled curves and stuff.
Right.
But the distortion and the harmonics and the saturation, that's all been sampled, and it does sound glorious.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
There's lots of good stuff still happening. It's just, you got to wonder, are we still going to see the proliferation of options? At a certain point, there's going to be tens of thousands of plugins to choose from. Like even my folder is littered with stuff I just used once just to try it. I bought it and paid for it. And I only used it once or twice, only to find out that the next thing was better, or the thing I had before was still better. And so there's a limit to the consumption, and I think that's what most plugin companies got to be worried about now, because you don't want this to be like CDs and vinyl, where you go rebuy your whole collection in the latest and greatest modeling technology, right? I rebuy all my Neves, all my APIs, all my Shadow Hills, all that stuff. So anyway,
I'm afraid that might happen once people start hearing how good this stuff sounds.
Yeah. So we'll try to come back and do more of the plugin reviews that you guys love, and try and do it in a way that's not quite so time intensive for poor EB here, who's doing all the editing.
Oh yeah.
See, we can't find a way.
No editing this time, man. No editing.
No, we're just live, right? So this is great.
This didn't take time-consuming thing for me was getting kind of screwed on the window. I know we talked about that in the beginning on the Windows update where they made everybody go to 11. I know there's ways you can get around that or whatever, pay them. But I was like, no, I want to go move to 11. I tried the update in place, didn't work.
Nope.
Reinstall all the stuff. And today, with the software we use for the streaming, the vMix, it's like it pretty much came up. I had to kind of reload some things, and it was like, oh, except all the scripting,
all your scripts,
gone. They're sitting on the old hard drive somewhere. So I got to figure out either how to retrieve them or relearn how to. Because it's been a while. I forget how to actually script now. I was looking up tutorials and shit, and I'm like, I'm not getting that done tonight. That's why you don't have the fancy intro or any of that stuff.
All good. All good. It was good to see you. It was good to chill with you guys. Thank you for tuning in, and thanks for always checking us out. And we'll bring you more stuff. I think we're probably evolving and doing something different. But whatever it is, it'll be focused on you guys and the tools that you use, and if we can shortcut you any of the learning or any of the stuff that we went through, so that you can get down to the business of learning the craft and making real music, then it'll be worth it. So expect we'll be back.
We will be back, and I'd like to do more frequent. And I think there's enough like product demos out there. You know what I mean.
It's true.
In terms of, and that really does take a lot of time to prepare that stuff. Or if we could just jump on. Say, okay, these are like the 4 things that happened this week in plugin world, right? This is the new shit that everybody's talking about.
We could do SoundClouds of some demos that you guys could listen to offline or something like that, rather than the way we're doing it now. We're never in the same room, so it's camera and screen and audio back and forth, and try to juggle all that, and then edit out mistakes.
Like back in the day, that was quite the feat to get that moving.
Yeah, it was.
And we were insisting it had to be lossless quality for all the audio examples.
Of course.
We were doing it over the internet, and I think we used audio movers for that one.
We did in the beginning. That's exactly what we did.
And it worked. We got it working. But
yep.
we had to
Always.
sync it all up and edit it, and I just like live, and it does feel a lot better because once we're done with this, we're like done. I mean, I hit record, but it might be all screwed up. I might go back and because we didn't even do a test, right? So it might be like I might play back the video. It's like, oh, that's great. You can't hear Eric at all. His mic is like muted.
Fuck it, turf it. Who cares? We'll do another. We'll do another one next week.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, right? That's my attitude now. But and also the movies and the horror movies, which we.
Oh yeah, we're gonna bring that back too.
Got to bring that back too, because there were some good ones this year. Although those got to be pretty mammoth too, right? Remember we had the big graph with like 100 movies on there, and the week before we're like watching everything we can so we could talk about them. And that's good. Well, okay, complain. Oh, I had to work. I had to do some work to prepare a thing that I expect other people to watch. I had to actually put some effort in. Oh, terrible. Anyway, thank you for those who are watching, and we'll see you next time on the Mixorcist. I'm going to try to actually queue up an ending for us all. So here we go. Can
you do it? Thanks, everybody. Thanks, EB.
Cheers, eh?